Yes, hello and welcome to Turkish Football's weekly wrap-up of the Super League. Obviously, we have much more to talk about than the Super League this week. We've got the international break where we will face Portugal for a chance to be in the World Cup this year. Obviously, we will have to face Italy or Macedonia in the case that we win, but we will discuss this. A lot more to talk about, a lot of, unfortunately, off-field things to talk about. So we've got a big agenda. I will now call my host, Ozan Gunce, on. Ozan abi, welcome. It's been a few weeks since we've had you.
How are you, Mems? Yes, I've missed you, and obviously would have been even better if Fuchs can join us, but he is busy this week. But no, it's good to be back. It's great to be here again.
Yep, and it's good to have you back as well. Obviously, as I did mention, we've got a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, not much, not much on the field to talk about, a lot off the field to talk about. So this will be a bit of a different program. And as we did mention, there will be a lot of shots fired. So let's get straight into it. But before we fire any shots, let's start talking about the main thing of the week, which is the
more
Turkey-Portugal
positive stuff.
game.
Yeah.
The more positive stuff, let's start with. So Ozan, take us through that. How's it looking for us? What are you thinking? Do you think we'll be on a positive? Just take us through it.
Sure. So obviously, Friday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time, Turkey will take on Portugal in a single elimination match at the Dragão Stadium in Portugal. It's a tough one because it is a single match, but at the same time, that could be an advantage for us. We don't really have to worry about away goals or anything. Just a win, any win will get us through, whether it's extra time or penalties, getting us through to the final, that is. And it will be a home final and the opponent will be either Italy or North Macedonia. But first things first, we need to knock out Portugal. It is a bit of a mammoth of a task, but having said that, Portugal did come second in their qualifier group to Serbia. And in that all-decisive match at home again, like they are now, they lost to Serbia. So, are we much less of an opponent than Serbia for Portugal? I don't think so. So that's encouraging. This man pictured right now, Cengiz Ünder, is having the most prolific season ever to date, even more so than Başakşehir before he went to Europe. So he's doing great things over at Marseille. Scoring goals, setting up goals, so he'll be vital for us. Alongside him is Yusuf Yazıcı, who's already off the mark really well at CSK Moscow. He's on loan from Lille, where he had issues, but again, more importantly, he's on form for us. So if we, I think, come out with informed players, and if Stefan Kuntz has that right tactical mindset, then why not, I say, because, obviously Portugal's going to have more of the ball. We're going to probably play more counter. But when we go up, we need to make it count. And if we do, then we've seen these results happen before. We've beaten Portugal there in a friendly. What do you think, Mems? What's your sort of prediction on this one going into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm looking more optimistically towards this game. And the reason being is for this, we look at, I think the best example for this is the Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes. They're seen as Portugal's two sort of powerhouse names. Obviously, I believe, they're both playing, but
these guys aren't, though. Ruben
yes,
Diaz
these guys aren't. They do.
Are out. Yep.
So they do have a lot of casualties. That is one. But I feel like sometimes if you've got, the big names together, it just doesn't work. Obviously, we watch the Premier League. We watch Manchester United, and just Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo just does not look like they get along on the pitch. So I think that'll be an advantage for us. We have a decent squad. We have Umut Bozok, who is absolutely on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think we have a good record against Portugal. So I'm optimistic about this game. But obviously the final game against either North Macedonia or Italy, I think that's going to be much of a tougher challenge than Portugal would be. So that might be a bit of a controversial statement from me. It's not something I don't do. So
we'll welcome those type of controversies. That's all good.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I think I'm looking actually quite positively. I think we will come out on top of this game.
Yeah. And just to sort of clarify for our viewers as well, and if you'd like to comment, guys, your score predictions, please do so. How you're sort of looking into how do you see this match panning out for Turkey? The suspended are the players João Cancelo and Renato Sanchez. Cancelo was in great form for Man City this season, so that's a big bonus for us. Renato Sanchez, again, he's doing great things at his respective club, but he's also suspended. And then in terms of the injury list for Portugal, we have Ruben Diaz and Pepe, who we just mentioned, as well as Ruben Neves and Nelson Semedo. So I think they're both at Wolves from memory, or at least one of them is. Neves is, but either way, crucial names again. So that's in total 6 names who typically would start for Portugal, if not feature in 90-minute matches almost on every occasion, and not playing. So that could play vital. And then in terms of Turkey, we already discussed the informed names. So, fingers crossed. Let's hope we get a good result. So that's Friday morning, XN Sports. If you're watching it through television in Turkey, pay-per-view television in Turkey, and Optus Sport here in Australia. So that's Turkey, Portugal. Shall we move on to the more controversial, if that wasn't controversial enough, controversial topics? I know you guys touched on this last week, Mem, so I'm not going to go over too much on the decision itself and what you guys talked about, because you covered it really well, and I did watch that. What I wanted to talk about, and I want to get your view on it too, obviously, and our viewers, if they're watching on with this, is the way that this was delivered. Now, I find it bizarre if Cüneyt Çakır, mind you, Cüneyt Çakır is refereed already at three European Championships and 2 World Cups. He would have been the first ever European referee to have, I was going to say coach, to have refereed in 6 major tournaments in the world ever. First time in football. That's now not going to happen. He found out the announcement through TV. I feel like this has happened before in major scandalous decisions in Turkey, where the person on the receiving end finds out the decision on TV. And I just feel like it's just so amateur hour. I don't know if you agree, Mems, but I mean, how amateur is it if the person, and mind you, he's not the only referee who copped the axe, right? There was Fırat Aydınus and 11 other referees. Halis Özkar here being another one who's well known. To have found out the decision on TV and then for the official announcement to come through no earlier than 2 days after the actual announcement. What do you make of that? How would you sort of feel if you were in that list among 13 referees?
I mean, it couldn't get more TFFR than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, this has happened many times in the past, but it's referees are always a controversial topic. Every game, 80%, 90%. I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but every game there's a winner and there's a loser. And in Turkey, the losing team always blames the referees. So making a decision like this and not letting the referees know, it's just basically saying, you know what, you guys are right. Like there's something wrong there. So, now rightfully so, the teams that are about to get relegated are saying, okay, then if that's the case, then why aren't we voiding the season? Why we're not staying, And as you said, that's going back to the decision itself. But as you said, the delivery of the decision, is very interesting. I think a part of the delivery, there's this as well. I did mention this last week as well. But for example, Fırat Aydınus, who in my opinion is one of Turkey's best referees, or if not one of the best we've ever seen. He's one of my favorites. The rules were changed just 6 months ago for this man. It was particularly this man can stay in the books and continue refereeing, and then 6 months later he's kicked out and he finds out from TV. You know what I mean? So I think something has to happen in terms of an investigation into the MHK, the Turkish Refereeing Federation, and the Turkish Football Federation, because this was absolutely shambles.
I mean, look, I even forget the guy's name every time I want to mention him. Like, who is this guy? This guy here, what's his name again? He's the actual president, right? Of the refereeing. I can't even remember his name. It doesn't matter anyway. It's not important because this guy's only refereed 2 professional matches. 2. If you've officiated 2 football matches in your life professionally, I'm sorry, but a name like Cüneyt Çakır and Fırat Aydınus from your desk cannot just be given the flick like that. And his excuse is that this was ongoing since the Serdar Tatlı, I should say, phase. So the previous president of MHK sort of pushed for this decision as well. That's all well and good, but you don't do this on the 28th fixture of a season. This is what looks so bad as well. I mean, because all of a sudden, especially let's say I'm Spanish or French, I'm a journalist and I'm looking at it from an outside perspective. The first thing that would come to mind is match fixing or something wrong, something, cash under the table, something dodgy going on. That's how it looks, right? Because why would you let go of 13 referees in the 28th week of a season? If you're really desperate, do it in January. But ideally, do it at the end of the season. I like the fact that he's highlighting they want to push for young referees. They've been waiting for a while to give them a chance. That's great, but don't do it in 28th week of the season. Don't you agree, Mems?
Absolutely, 100%. And just before I continue, his name's Ferhat Gündoğdu, the new president of Mehmet.
There you go.
I think the consistency is not right as well in terms of absolutely. The consistency is in, the two things that were highlighted were, the younger referees and having female referees in the Super League, which we are seeing all over the world right now. Absolutely, 100%. And, having, being like firm followers of the Women's Super League, I can confirm that we have very good referees. Just Neslihan Murat. We've made news about them recently. Recently, Cansu Tiryaki is also one of our big referees. But the thing is, these girls are all starting next season in the Super League. And all these guys have been kicked out from now with no notice, with no acknowledgement. Yes, controversial. Yes, they might have been bad in the last few years, according to some. But we can't put aside, what they've added to Turkish football. Cüneyt Çakır was always known for his quality in Europe. He's refereed a Champions League final, So I think there's a problem in consistency, number one, and big problem in timing, as you mentioned.
Massive. And their excuse was, I'm calling it an excuse, I'm sorry, not an announcement, because I see it as an excuse. But their excuse was that their characters were out of line. I'm translating this obviously from Turkish. Their characters were out of line and it was too far in front of where it needed to be. So basically they were saying they were just sort of expressing themselves too much and not sort of acting under the MHK banner thing, which again, it doesn't explain to me anything because everyone's going to have their own character on the field, whether you're a player or a referee. But very disappointing. Yeah, but the way I've summed it up was imagine you work for somewhere for almost 30 years and then one day you come into work and they tell you you're fired. So thanks, but no thanks. Sorry, but not sorry kind of approach by MHK. Very disappointing. But we do have to move on there are other things to talk about.
Just to add to that.
TV rights. Yeah, of course. Let's go back.
Just to add to that before we move on, I'm going to point out one single name, and I think this referee was there because of the most controversial decision making in one game. And, I think more than just Fenerbahce fans will agree with me, but, Ali Shansalan is still in the books. And I think that Trabzonspor Fener game was, it turned the season around. And this is absolutely not taking credit away from Trabzonspor and their magnificent season. Absolutely deserve to be champions. And, I think they still would have won that game, even if it wasn't for the referee. But, a 23rd minute red card that probably shouldn't have been a red card. No yellow cards for Trabzonspor, constant yellow cards. And, very, very controversial. It made a lot of noise. And then this man is still on the books. But you've got these guys, the big names are there, have been kicked out because, their personalities weren't in line. Or was that what you said? So just the comment that I wanted to add. So again, it's about consistency.
Yeah, no, you're right. It doesn't make sense in terms of performance and who's on the books and who's not. The other thing is in the past, recent past, ancient past, whatever, presidents have come forward and said, so-and-so referee, hang your whistle, doing those announcements, pointing to the camera. So-and-so referee, don't ever referee our game again. Farhat, don't give this referee to us ever again. This whole boys in the club kind of approach and, this argot talking style to the cameras. like as if, everyone's just, it's a dogfight, that's caused referees to move on or felt too much pressure to stay on as a referee as well. And that's the other reason why now there's two sides of the fence with these referee names, because, one president doesn't want a certain referee, but next week, that team wins again with another referee, and all of a sudden life is well and good. So because everything's results based in from a Turkish chairman perspective, especially, these things sort of get out of hand because, the referees are the scapegoat. They've got no perspective, unfortunately, or opinion. We can probably talk on and on about this because
absolutely.
I'm sure, and you were the same too. When we saw this announcement, I was shocked and outraged and all of the above. So we do have to move on. Let's move on to the TV rights, Mems. I know this wasn't covered last week, so you probably have a lot to say as well. Has this not been going on in a ridiculous way as well and for too long? Because, we look at Australia, right? We live in Australia. So let's give an example from here. We had the Premier League rights up for bidding last season, and Optus won them again. But the way that it was processed was that there was a blind betting system, and they did this last time around as well, the previous time. And it's as simple as everyone puts a bet in, whoever's the highest wins. Can it not be this simple, or do we just love overcomplicating these sort of scenarios in Turkey?
Again, the most, I'm not going to say TFF. I think the clubs are at fault here as well, but it's the most Turkish football way of managing something so simple. So I think there's just too many parties involved. So from what I was reading before I lost control of what was happening, the TFF wanted beIN Sports because of the money that they were putting in. The clubs didn't want beIN Sports. Obviously, we know that Fenerbahce always, since Ali Koç came, always had this thing against beIN Sports, this whole be fair topic and things like that. So the clubs didn't want it. Obviously, the clubs federation announced that they didn't want beIN Sports. That's being led by Trabzonspor president Ali Ağaoğlu and Fenerbahce president Ali Koç. So Sport is, about to take over for a much less sort of much less financial.
And there's multiple packages as well, right?
Yeah, there's a million different packages. TRT's involved somehow. People are complaining now that, it's Saadettin Saran, this man, he's a big Fenerbahce supporter, blah, blah, blah. So there's just a lot happening. And as you said, in my opinion, if it was a blind betting system, it would have been all done and dusted and no one would have really cared, even if it was on, TRT Çocuk, the TRT Children's channel. So
Why not?
I think that's where it deserves to be right now.
Because of the way presidents are acting? Is that why?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. The other thing is that, why can't we just keep things just transparent? I mean, the way that they announce things, and, beIN Sports came out the other day saying, we stand by our bidding process, and there's no actual, there's no facts, there's nothing for the average audience to understand, but there's 15 paragraphs of, we stand behind our bid and this is what we're going with, and we like packet A, but we kind of like packet C, and you're like, what the hell is packet A and packet C, and what do they consist of? One has 4 derbies and the other one has 12 derbies, and define derbies. Is it just the 4 teams, or is it Istanbul teams as well? I mean, it's complete scandal, really, in my view. And the other thing, Mems, and I wanted to ask you this: is it good timing to do all of this, or would you have rather postponed all of this process to maybe a year or two, given the economy as well? Because beIN Sports coming to the table with dollars and euros and other, foreign currency, and I mean, the comparison rate between that and lira at the moment, unfortunately for us, is mountains and worlds apart, isn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. If I want to be brutally honest, I think our clubs, every single one of them, deserve to be paid in lira, because obviously we are going to talk about Arda Güler coming up as well. But we're spending millions and millions. We're complaining that we have no money at all, and we're spending millions and millions on players. So I just want our clubs to not get this money. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of being logical, yes, you are right. I think beIN Sports should have continued at least for another term, which should be 3 years. Um, more financial input. Yeah, the clubs can't post on their social media pages. I don't think that was too much of a biggie anyway, because, you know, um, obviously today,
Yeah.
apart from Trabzonspor and Konyaspor, I don't think any of the other clubs want to post on their social media pages. So,
Mm. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So yeah, very outrageous thing going on there with TV rights. Hopefully that gets resolved as soon as possible. The next thing I want to talk about, Mems, and I'm sure you've got things to say as well, is this man here, who I think is the most overrated coach ever in Turkish football. That's a big call, but that's my opinion. Subjective, some may not agree, but Tolunay Kafkas, I think, is the most overrated coach. I don't understand why this guy has been given the run under the national team banner for many, many years. I mean, this is not the only year that he's had a national team for. He's had the Ümit Milli, obviously, which is the under 21s, and he's had under 17s in the past. I think he's overseeing both now. I don't understand how it works. Again, it's something that's not transparent because we really don't have a process in youth national teams, unfortunately. At one stage, Abdullah Avcı was there. But anyway, Tolunay Kafkas, the results speak for themselves that there has been no success for a while. And you can also define success differently, especially with under 17s, because that's more development stage, not so much result stage. So there's different ways to look at it. But basically, the situation with this is that Tolunay Kafkas has chosen Arda Güler, who obviously has been very much informed for Fenerbahce recently, for the under-17s national team. Now, Arda's only 16, mind you. So on paper, that makes sense. But this guy's playing with the big guns. He played in the Conference League already and kind of setting up that goal for Borussia, doing wonders before it. He's played in Super League games. He's assisted. He's scored. So he's already proven that he can get physical with the big boys. And let's face it, Super League is a physical league. Now, he's not getting picked for the national team, and a lot of people may think, well, he's not going to play against Portugal anyway. The way I see it, and you can tell me your 2 cents, and I want to see if you agree or disagree on this, is that the way I see it is someone like Arda Güler, who has a ton of potential, a ton of talent, should get on that plane. You should get that experience and just warm up near Cristiano Ronaldo at Dragao Stadium. Should sit on the bench, listen to the Portuguese fans, listen to the handful of Turkish fans there, get emotional watching the game. I'd rather have Arda having that experience in Portugal and not playing a minute than to go off and play for the under-17s who have got 3 group stage matches, which aren't necessarily decisive matches as well, mind you. In contrast to Tolunay Kafkas's announcement saying we need him for the under-17s matches because they're crucial. So what I'm trying to say is, does he really need to be with the under-17s, or does what Kafka's saying make sense to you, man?
I think there's a few points here, because I do agree with you. Even when he was in the Super League with Kayserispor, I remember him being at one stage. I always thought Tolunay Kafkas was yes, overrated. But if we're talking in, sort of in this sense, I think there's a few things to point out here in the Arda Güler example. So obviously, Arda's not the only young player to come out this year, but he's definitely probably up there with the best. There was young boy from Beşiktaş as well that Önder Karaveli brought out. His name doesn't come to my mind right now. But
Emirhan?
these boys, Emirhan, that's the one. Sorry, Emirhan, he's definitely up there as well. Obviously, you don't want to bring these boys up all at one time, but as you did mention,
Sure.
These boys do deserve to go there. To be taken to Portugal. Let's be honest, Arda Güler currently, whether people like it or not, he's one of Fenerbahce's 3 best players currently.
Yeah.
And he's 16. He comes on against Alanyaspor when it's 2-2 in the 75th minute. 90th minute, the score's 5-2. He scored 1, assisted 1. This guy's 16.
Yep.
But I think it's not right to only put it on Tolunay Kafkas here as well. Stefan Kuntz came out and he made. I think what Stefan Kuntz said was very, very silly as well. And personally, I'm someone who likes Stefan Kuntz as a manager. He came out and he said, I hope you don't expect me to get a player that can't even get first 11 game time in his own club. But he's forgetting that he's talking about a 16-year-old. A 16-year-old or 17-year-old that's just turned 17 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Sure.
And in this topic, the last thing I want to say before I throw it back over to you is, the best example, the example I love to give all the time is Kylian Mbappe. No one put him into the under-16s team in the 2018 World Cup, and he went along to win it with his country and to be one of the most influential players. Another example, yes, we might not see him much these days. He scored a hat-trick last week, but Emre Mor, he played one friendly with the national team. We figured out that he was a freak. He went to the European Championships. Yes, his personality let him down, but, it was the European Championships that took an 18-year-old to Borussia Dortmund. And after that point, it's the player himself. So I think he should, don't play him, but let him get that experience. That's how players get experience. And that's what our managers don't understand. I like the way that Ismail Kartal is approaching Arda in the sense of not playing him 90 minutes. And the same with Önder Karaveli and Emirhan.
Emirhan.
But, and I like the way that these players are being approached because they're not being thrown into the deep end. But then you've got the guys that are leading football in the country that are saying, these guys can't play 90 minutes in their own team. So why am I going to take them into the squad? So I think,
and he's German, by the way. So you'd think he'd have a different mindset about that as well.
Absolutely, and he's won the European Championships with the German under-21 side with Berisha, who Arda has been feeding for weeks and weeks now. So, So it's a bit of a controversial one. I think, yes, Tolunay Kafkas is overrated, in my opinion. I do agree with you, but I think it's not right to put it all on him. I think we have to put it on Stefan Kuntz as well. I think it's just a management thing, and I don't agree.
No, absolutely. And look, I want to make this clear. My statement before was not purely directed at Tolunay Kafkas. That's a separate thing. I don't see any success with this guy. Why is he still got the job? He's been there for many years. That's a separate thing. But then he's gone on to say, Arda should be at under 17s. We need him there. Well, not really. You don't need him there. Need is a very strong word. You may want him there. But, similar to this guy, you've given the Mbappe example. What about this guy here, Pedri? He got picked for Spain when he was 16, 17. The Spanish national team, what's their coach's name again? Used to play for Barcelona, Luis Enrique, right? He didn't say we need Pedri for under 17s, did he? And in the comments, you may want to comment as well and tell us what you think. Was he sent to Spain under 17? No, he went to the Euros with Spain and he played every freaking game. So this is the mentality that we got to change. Otherwise, for many years, we're going to have the Ghent semi thing going on with players where they're 25 and we're still going to say, oh, he's still young. Let's give him a few more years. Pishijek, that we love that one, the Pishijek, like as if, we're talking about a hamburger or a kebab or something. Whereas if players are ready to play, they're ready to play. It doesn't matter if they're 16 or 25. Or if you have a late bloomer like Jamie Vardy, Serdar Dursun. I mean, he got picked for the first time ever for Turkey when he was, 31, 32 when he got signed up for Fener now. So there's no age for this. And I think we need to realize this. Realistic age. Let's obviously, not 13 or 14. They need to still physically develop. But Pedri, Donnarumma is another one. He got picked for, he was captaining AC Milan at 16. No one said, oh, he's got a Pishijek,
That's exactly right.
Pishmish. So he played. Anyway, let's move on. We do have a few more topics before we wrap it up. By the way, Sinan Abi has written through to us saying, have you guys done the weekly local wrap yet? We sort of have. We didn't really talk league, Sinan Abi. We talked more national team. You can obviously watch this on the page later as well to watch from the start. So don't worry, you won't miss a thing, and we'll have little snippets of this program on our page. So stay tuned.
So I think. Sorry to cut you off, Abi. I think Sinan Abi meant the local leagues in Australia. So we haven't covered them just yet. We've got them coming up in the agenda in the coming minutes. So we haven't covered them just yet.
That's my bad. Sorry, guys. I misunderstood that comment. Now, Tahir Kuran is the president of Rizespor. Now, you might think, why are we looking at him? Why is he being mentioned? Because he, like many presidents out there in Turkey who love doing these statements, Ali Koç has done it. I can name a dozen. Galatasaray presidents, Beşiktaş, Trabzon, all of them. They love to do these sort of announcements. Now, he's come out saying, one day I will announce who is ruining Turkish football. Mems, I'll throw it over to you. What do you make of these sort of announcements when they don't actually feel the bottom? They just sort of talk surface level, and then that further announcement never comes through, and people just sit there wondering, well, what actually ruined Turkish football? Are you going to announce it or not?
Yeah, I really don't listen to these comments anymore because we've heard it a dozen times. We've heard it from, I'll give a few examples. We've heard it from Aziz Yildirim. We've heard it from Ali Koç.
Yep.
If you would remember, Trabzonspor's old president Ibrahim Hacı Osmanoğlu,
Yep.
Sadri Şener, and then
Abdurrahim
Abdurrahim Albayrak. Everyone says it. Mahmut Uslu, who was Fenerbahçe's sort of secretary, who said that.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just something. Yes, you might think that the refs aren't fair. You might think that there's a system, there's something going on with the system. But, I think it's just like a statement to sort of be like, you know what, I want decisions my way. So it's sort of cheap way to stay in the league, in my opinion, because we always heard about this from Fener, Galatasaray, Trabzon, Beşiktaş, XYZ team when they realized that they weren't really going to win the league anymore. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
That's exactly right. So, I think, just say it. Just who was it?
And I think Sinan Abi is putting his expression of interest through for the Rizespor presidential position there, saying they need a real prez. You know what, Sinan Abi? I think you do a better job. I'll be honest. I'm not saying that to be nice, but I think you probably would do a better job because you'll just get on with the job, which is something that our presidents, unfortunately, over at the Super League sometimes forget to do, and they play for the cameras. And going back to the referee thing that we were talking about, half those referees left because these presidents have made such announcements and they've put so much pressure on the MHK and the TFF, which is unfortunate. Shall we move on? Because I don't want to look at this face for much longer. He's sort of giving me the creeps a little bit.
Just as a response to Sinan Abi as well. Sorry, I keep cutting your word. Just as a response to Sinan Abi as well. What's it called? As someone who's seen his presidency, I think he will. I think we should put him as the TFF as the head of the TFF, man of many talents. I've seen him.
Oh, there you go.
I've seen him being an all around with football. So
you've got the upgrade.
My name is Sinan Akkurt for the TFF presidency.
There you go.
And we've got İlker also saying Sinan is the biggest actor. So let's.
That can come in handy. That can come in handy based on what we just talked about.
I mean, so are our club presidents. So there we are.
Yeah, now you got to have that flamboyant side to you as well. Speaking of flamboyance, I think a talented young goalkeeper in İrfan Can Eğribayat, as pictured here. The goalkeeper of Göztepe, he's been left out of the active squad at Göztepe, who are having some tough days. Their president, of course, moved on. Yesterday, they announced that Mehmet Serpil, they're bound to sort of go to the TFF Birinci Lig now. It looks like they might get relegated. So it's everything's going from bad to worse down there in Izmir. What I want to touch on with this one, Mems, and obviously I'll get your view on this as well, is that it's a bit of a sad story, really. İrfan Can, he's a young bloke, but he got married and then he had a child. And now that child, soon after birth, unfortunately lost her life due to health reasons. It's a very sad story. It's something that you wouldn't wish upon for anyone. Allah korusun to, it's all for all of us. Now, despite this, and I'm looking at it from a humanistic approach, I'm not talking from a Göztepe or another club approach. All game during the 2-0 loss at Alanya, certain fans, I'm not saying all the fans, but certain fans near the goal made remarks about the daughter who passed away and to İrfan directly. And they swore and, all that sort of thing to put him off his game. Now, do you need to go that low for anything, let alone trying to put someone off a game? Or do you need to sort of be a bit more humane and just have a good look at yourself, not as a fan, not as a football person, but just as a human being before opening your mouth? Because now what's caused this is what this led to was Irfan Can reacting, and now he's getting punished. So I guess the first question to you is, what's wrong with us as fans? And secondly, why is Irfan Can getting punished at the end of this for his actions instead of those certain so-called, I'm not going to even call them fans, people who think they are human beings, when we're supposedly meant to have so many cameras in our lovely new stadiums that we build every month almost? What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, look, I can't blame him. He's a young boy that's gone through a lot. That's what we've got to say. And we've seen players cop this all the time, and none of it is right. But the thing is, it's also not fixing. So, I don't think. I think clubs are just trying to be nice to their fans. As we know, Göztepe is at the bottom half of the table. They're about to get relegated, or probably will be relegated. So their president's walked out. So they're trying to look good to their fans. And how do you look good to your fans? You just they booed a player, they swore at him. Yeah, it's a player's fault. We saw this with Abdülkadir Ömür as well. Obviously, this club stayed behind him. That was a whole different story. And we've seen this with many other players. But really, like this whole like I'm going to go back years now. This whole Paso League system came in to eliminate all of this, to eliminate the swearing and eliminate the flag throwing and eliminate all of this. And like we don't want to eliminate any of that, but we are going to, we're just going to kick out the goalkeeper
Punish
or
this
the player that they've sworn at. Yeah, he might be off form. He's a human being. Messi's off form at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think as a community we're very, very critical. And unfortunately,
but Mams, I don't think. Sorry to cut you off, but I don't think it's even about being critical or trying to figure out who to point the finger to. I'm sort of trying to say it's a whole new level. I mean, if I want to put a keeper off, I'm trying to put myself in that fan's position. If I want to put a goalkeeper off their game, the last thing, and it wouldn't even come to my mind, but I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here. The last thing that would come to my mind is I'm going to make a remark about that player's daughter who passed away to put him off. I mean, you could call him 1,000 names without, making it too personal or without swearing. You can whistle, you can, do all that sort of, or chant for your team and just, what you should do as a fan, like build that pressure up in the stadium. But you wouldn't go that low. Surely not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think these are the type of fans that deserve lifetime bans. We've seen it in Australia, people that have got lifetime bans for racism.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too much off topic, but I think these are the fans that deserve lifetime bans because it's disgusting. It's bad. It's horrible. You can talk about we even say that swearing is bad, and we're talking about someone who's lost his daughter, and he's such a young he's such a young human being. I think that's the main word for it. He's a human being, and he's such a young person that he's got so much to learn in life. And instead of people supporting him, they put his own fans are putting him off his game like that. So I'm not too sure. I really think they deserve lifetime bans, and we sort of can't.
We need to smarten up. And I think another set of fans who need to smarten up is a portion of the Yeni Malatya Sport fans. Again, I'm saying portion. I'm underlining these sort of words because I don't want I've got friends who are actually Malatya as well. I don't want anyone to think I'm having to go dig at a whole big club. It's just certain people who are very small-minded, obviously. Same with the Malatya Kasımpaşa game. Same scoreline at home. Malatya loses 2-0 to Kasımpaşa. They're pretty much out, Malatya. We know they're going down. Every player in there is not performing. Adem Büyük left the club after, doing a little he wanted to do a cameo coach appearance, and then he left after 7 hours after taking over, whatever it was. But more importantly, this guy, Sadık, he's the captain. He's been there for many years. He put him on the map in a way before going to Fener, mind you. We forget things so quickly as fans. But He put him on the map as a defender, played for Fener, was being called about, talked about for Turkey as well at one stage, went back to Malatya with this greeting, mind you. Sadık Çıkpınar diye yazılır, adam diye okunur, evine hoş geldin kardeş. So they welcomed him back to the club like this, and they pretty much sent him packing like this because a ball deflected on his foot and went in the goal, and they lost 2-0 apparently because of him only. I mean, where do you go from here? I mean, he wants to come off the field. The players are trying to stop him. It's just disastrous, really. We, I'm going to ask the same question to you, Mems, again, but just quickly, your thoughts on this? Did you see it happen?
I mean, yeah, like I wasn't fully aware of what exactly happened. I did see it absolutely, but again, it's just another example. I mean, it's not as big as the İrfan Can Eğribayat example. Obviously, it's not as extreme, let's say, but absolutely. I mean, he's your captain, and you're sending him off like that. I mean, next year you're going to be in the Birinci League, and I think Sadık is a player who plays with his heart. We've seen this at Fener. We've seen this at Malatya. So I think Sadık would have stayed in the Birinci League to bring his club back up.
Yeah.
And now you've ruined that. And he's a Super League centre back, definitely a Super League centre back. So you've just ruined that. You've sent your captain, your other captain. Your two captains have been kicked out of the club within a month. So I think this is shooting. It's Malatyaspor shooting themselves in their own foot.
Yeah, they're going to need him next season, and I don't think he's going to want to be there. So, again, like you said, they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Exactly.
So that's very disappointing. Especially, I mean, this sort of stuff. Like we do this so good, we greet people and we hug and embrace so well, and then we just forget what we've done and said to those same people so quickly, which is very disappointing. So that's the Sadık situation. Local rap. So Sinan Abi, here we go. For you especially. So we've got the Victorian State League match day 1. Mems, take us through the scores.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we're starting with Hilalspor. Big win. Obviously, they're very Hilalspor's come into the season banging, and they're looking for promotion into the NPL. 5-0 win against Strathmore Split. Not much can be said about that. Charter Sport started with a 1-0 loss to Altona East Phoenix. Albion Rovers, I was personally at this game watching this game. Albion Türkgücü beat Leylo Sloga 3-1 there was some amazing goals, especially the third one. I must say, I don't know the forward's name, but it was a spectacular volley from outside the box.
Scout?
Definitely want to scout. Southeast United, I was at this game as well, 4-3 against Mount Martha. Very interesting game. 1-1 within the first minute and a half, believe it or not,
Wow.
And it was just goals galore, misses galore, and obviously Southeast United came out on top as well. And Tullamarine FC, Aslan Gücü beat Old Ivanhoe Soccer Club 2-1. So we had, in the Victorian State Leagues, we had 4 out of 5 wins to start the season. I think that's a spectacular, a very good start. Let's hope that all of our teams promote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope. That's a fantastic start, I have to say. Eyebrow-raising stuff. And with Hume United, I mean, yes, they lost, but they're always up there. We see them do their, great runs in the FFA Cup as well. We know they'll be up there again. They're one of the powerhouses of that league, so I'm sure they'll bounce back. But that's fantastic news. Speaking of fantastic news, and Mems, I think you watched this live, didn't you? They are the queens of Europe. It's I guess the second tier of the European Championships of women's volleyball, of volleyball in general. But nonetheless, I mean, if Galatasaray, Fener, someone Beşiktaş won the Europa League, I'd be pretty happy too. So take us through the match. This is an amazing achievement from the girls.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I wasn't able to watch the full game live, but I did watch parts of it. They beat MTV Stuttgart German outfit 3-1 to win the Sev Cup. As you said, it is the sort of the Europa League of women's volleyball. But obviously, European champions are European champions. I mean, so yeah, amazing performance. The game, they started strong, middle strong, ended strong, ended in a spectacular way as well with a beautiful smash. And yeah, I mean, these girls deserve it. And one thing that I did want to mention is, and it's going to come back to our women's football, which we didn't have time to sort of cover today. We will go over that more in depth next week, and there are games being
Yep.
played currently in the Women's Super League. But just want to have a sort of eye on our women's volleyball. Women's sport in general. Maybe this could be an idea of where our women's football is going to get. We look at our national team, 5th in the Olympics, 3rd in Europe. Just last year, December, Vakufbank were the champions of Europe.
Yep.
Fenerbahce finished 3rd in that same tournament. And now Eczacıbaşı are the champions of the Sev Cup. So, I mean, both European trophies have come to Turkey. 3rd spot has come to Turkey. And then in terms of national team in women's volleyball, we've finished 5th in the Olympics, 3rd in Europe. I mean, how good is that? And, it just comes with the effort and the financial resources, not only the financial, but the resources you put into it. Whatever you put in, you get out. And, I think this should be shown as an example to the people who are running football in Turkey, and particularly women's football. Because obviously we are trying to grow that. It is being led by Hamit Altıntop in the TFF, which I have full faith in. We are growing it. We're doing very well. But I think this should be shown as an example as to why we should be putting resources into women's sport, because these girls are just amazing. Having following volleyball properly in the last year, I'll say.
Yeah.
I've seen more trophies than I have in my whole life in all teams I support in football.
Mind you, Vakufbank, I think, were the world champions as well in December, if I don't remember wrong, because there were Brazilian and South American teams in that as well. So that was a massive achievement. On top of that, by the way, you summarized it beautifully. I'm just sort of adding a few things on top. Vakufbank and Fenerbahce are about to clash heads in the semi-final of the major European Championship for this season, on top of this achievement. So we've got 2 more teams in the top tier of the European volleyball competition. And you're 100% right. From an administration level, from a sport management level, I think football in general, not just the women's, I think men's as well, need to look at volleyball and think, what the hell are these guys doing so good that they're putting our country on the map so consistently? What can we copy paste from that? And I think discussions need to have been had. Definitely, you're 100% right. And we wish Eczacıbaşı all the best, as well as the other girl teams. The men's volleyball, they're not as consistent in terms of silverware, but there are some very good teams. By the way, Halkbank, amazing achievement in the men's. They've won all 24 games so far. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they're doing it.
It's a bit like Aile Esport in the women's league.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. They're dominating the league. So, yeah, very exciting stuff.
And
sorry,
just before we end up as well. Just before we end up as well, just having a look at this photo as well. I mean, there's some names here that the world is talking about right now. Mainly that one right there, right next to the coach, Simge Akers. I mean, she's one of the best in her position. And it's not only her, we've got the world talking about a lot of our players individually as well as our teams. So, again, from an administration point of view, how they're bringing these players up and how they're sort of raising them and how they make them professionals when they're sort of at the age, I think that should be implemented into our football as well. Because, if you look at some interviews, which, would be more than happy to share on the page in the coming days. Simge Akers, who is in this photo right now, Hande Baladin, who's in this photo right now, and many other players, Zehra Güneş, they're all talking about how they started at 12 years old just because they were tall. And then, they were looked after. They were sent to school by their clubs. They were treated like they were always taught to be professionals. And today they're professionals and they're the best in their job, So they're again, exactly. So from a team's perspective, yes, administration, but then player development perspective, I think with all these perspectives, football has to take example from women's volleyball, particularly women's volleyball.
Absolutely, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Well put, Mems. On that great note, we're going to wrap things up, guys, on this week's program. Before we do, and before we say our farewells and good lucks to Turkey, obviously, or we will say that now, we hope that Turkey gets a win out of Portugal and then does it again at home to whoever, Italy or Macedonia, and makes the World Cup. We're going to do a bit of a nostalgia before we round up to this week's program, and that is a Turkey-Portugal match. And no, it's not that friendly when we beat them 3-1 over there. Umut Bulut starring and Volkan saving Ronaldo's penalty. I wouldn't mind watching that, by the way, but this is a further back, winding back the years a bit further, one that many of us didn't know. I didn't know until I came across it. So let's have a watch of that and see. By the way, I'll give you the context of what this match is. It is Turkey-Portugal, but it's an under-19s championship final being held in Turkey. And let's look at what happens in the end and who holds the silverware. So before we do, Mems, thank you for co-hosting the show with me. It was a pleasure teaming up again.
Thank you. It was amazing teaming up again after a few weeks, and hopefully for the future weeks to come. But just before we do leave, I want you to give me a prediction for the pundits Friday morning. Give one for the pundits.
For the game.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'll say 2-1 Turkey. Normal time.
No worries. Normal time. I say 3-1 Turkey. Normal time. I think we're going to repeat that friendly. And I think Burak Yilmaz will score a goal. Gut instinct. That's
I'll take 3-1.
That's exactly right. I'll take 2-1.
There we go. Less heart attack potential. 3-1. At least 2-goal buffer. Exactly. That's it for us guys this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with my rants this week, especially. But I had to get them off my chest. I'm sorry. And let's have a look at this Turkey-Portugal game from way back, and see who won it.
See you guys.
Heyecan içindeyiz. Tabii böylesine bir fırsatı milli takımımızın yakalamış olması hepimize gurur veriyor. Ve işte bu fırsatı finale geldiğimiz bu Avrupa Futbol Şampiyonası'nda değerlendirmek istiyoruz. Tribünleri izliyorsunuz, Türk bayraklarını izliyorsunuz. Büyük seyirci desteği var. Orta sahada topu kontrol ediyoruz. Mustafa. Mustafa orta. Oktay koşuyor. Pozisyon var. Vuruş ve kullanamıyoruz. Bülent Yılmaz evet. Çok önemli bir pozisyondu. Tekrar Seyfettin'i görüyoruz. Topla İlhami buluşuyor. Seyfettin şut atabilir. Vuruyor. Kalecinin elinden sekiyor. Şut ve top ağlarda. Top ağlarda. Golü atıyoruz sevgili seyirciler. Seyfettin takımımıza golü kazandırıyor. Karşılaşmanın 18. dakikasında büyük sevinç yaşıyoruz. Atış kullanılıyor Henrikus. Kordasa ve filelere gidiyor top. Sevinç içinde Kordasa, kalecimizin bir an kontrpide kaldığını görüyoruz. 42. dakika. Şimdi Seyfettin götürmeye çalışıyor. Kojo. Yetkin çok dikkatli. Bravo. Seyfettin topu arkadaşına verdi. Şimdi uygun bir durum Mustafa. Yere düşüyor. Ve serbest vuruş kullanacağız. Hakem atışın noktasını gösteriyor. Atışın yapılacağı yeri. Bütün savunma oyuncuları ilerideki herkesi çağırıyor Portekizliler. Vuruş ve gol. İkinci golü kaydediyoruz. 2-1 öne geçiyoruz. 2-1. Türkiye 2. Evet. Sevinç içinde futbolcularımız sevgili seyirciler. Tarkan'la evet Tarkan golü kaydeden futbolcu. 2-1 öne geçiyoruz. Uygun bir yerde Tarkan çok güzel vurdu. Ve genç milli takımımız Portekiz karşısında 2-1 öne geçti. Sadece 2-1 öne geçmiş olmuyor. Görüyorsunuz işte golü tekrar görüyorsunuz. Seyrediyoruz işte. Tarkan vuruşunu yapıyor. Ve kupayı elimize alıyoruz bu golle. Sevinç içinde futbolcularımız, teknik adamlarımız, seyircilerimiz. Türkiye 2, Portekiz 1. Avrupa Gençler Futbol Şampiyonası'nda 2-1 yeniyoruz. Ve Avrupa şampiyonu oluyoruz. Avrupa şampiyonu. İşte Serpil Tüzük. İşte gençlerimiz. İşte oradaki taraftarlar, oradaki Türkler, televizyon başında olan olmayan Türkiye'deki futbol severler, hepimiz büyük bir sevinç yaşıyoruz. İlk kez resmi bir organizasyonda Avrupa'nın en büyüğü Türkiye oluyor.